Abilities in Motion. Today we're going to talk about the resume and how to build your resume. We'll try to define what a resume is, what the different components of it, the different parts, and then how to use your resume the best way possible. Okay, what's a resume? The resume is just a formal document which summarizes your skills, your abilities, your professional qualifications, and accomplishments. It's just like an advertisement of yourself, your professional qualities, which will help the employer have a favorable view of you in terms of employment. So, what is the importance of the resume? The main goal of the resume is to get you the interview, and it's the first impression that the employer will have of you. So we have to make sure our resume is clean, there's no mistake in, we proofread it, and we eventually make other people read it as well. And not all resumes are identical, so we have to customize our resume to fit the need of the position we are applying for or the job description that we are going for. As we said, we have different forms of resume. However, all should contain your personal information, your career or skill summary. It has to be in a reverse chronological employment history. That's the chronological resume. And we also have to have information about our education. Many new graduates prefer putting their resume just their education just after the summary, just to show up that they just accomplished that milestone. However, that's a personal preference. Other information that you will find on the resume is your volunteer work activities, your awards if you received some, affiliations or membership if you are a member of any professional group. That's you can put that on the resume. And using your activities like volunteer activities, your award or affiliation and membership can help you fill gaps on your employment history. It's really recommended to use that if you have some gaps on your resume. For example, if you have gone through any training or you received any certification while you at home, it's good to use some of those things. When we have to go a little bit more in detail, when we are talking about personal information, what we're talking about is your name, your address, your phone number, your email address, and the first number is really optional. And then for the address, even nowadays, we don't really need to have our address on. The main important things we need to have on our resume is our phone number and our email address, because that will help the employer reach out to us to schedule an interview. The career or skill summary. The career or skill summary is just a brief informative statement at the beginning of your resume, and is to highlight the professional skills and experience that you have. It's also give the employer the desire to read more your information, to have more, to get further in your information. Here I have an example of a career or skill summary. This is a creative design artist with experience working with children, seeking to transfer skills to an educational setting. Determined self-starter with ability to coordinate project from concept through production. By reading this, I already know that the person has experience working with children. I know that the person has some creative side, and he's seeking to transfer some of those skills in the educational field. And we have all some other information about this candidate, knowing that he is self-motivated, can start a project and finish it as it should be. Many candidates also will have a list of some marketable skills just after the career summary. Others will put it at the end. It doesn't matter, it's personal preferences. For a summary like this, some of the skills that you can talk about is substitute teaching, if you have those, production, business management, problem solving. Problem solving actually can go with a lot of profession, because no matter the field you are working in, there will be time when you have to solve some problems. So you can use that overboard. Fundraising or public relationship or public speaking, graphic design, retail sale, all those are skills that can go with the marketable skills. The career summary also is to inform the employer about your goal and what you can offer, not what you should get out of the job. The other thing that I can talk about is, well, work experience. Work experience is one of the main points that we can talk about. Is the main point that will help the employer know your prior experience. So the work experience has to be in a reverse chronological order, meaning that you start with your most recent job and you go backward. List skills and accomplishments that you have under each job. You need to have the company's name, the location, your title while you're working at that company, and few things that you have done. You can go back 10 to 15 years when you're talking about your work experience. Be ready also to explain gaps in your employment. As I said before, you can use your volunteer activities, the training that you make while you stay home, or any affiliation or anything that you did while you're not working. You can use that to explain the gap in your employment. Include as well your volunteer experience. We said that already. For the education part, education should be reflective of your skills and abilities and knowledge. The education also has to be in a reverse chronological order, meaning that if you have your bachelor, you put your bachelor, and then you don't need to put your high school diploma if you have a bachelor. But if you have a bachelor in one field and you went for a master in another field, you can put both. However, the master's degree has to come first. Some new graduates, again, would like to put their education on top just after the summary, but that's a personal preferences. If you advance in your career, the education part always has to be at the bottom. While you're writing your work experience part, when you have to emphasize the benefit of you offer the organization, emphasize your accomplishment and achievement, your professional and relevant affiliation that you can put in. Those are like training or clearances that you have. Those are things that can be useful. Highlight any specific result that you have. For example, if you are a cashier and one of your role is to open the store credit card, and then you're one of the best in that regard, you can talk about it. If you are an employee of the month, some of the things that if necessary you don't put on your resume, you can talk about during the interview. We'll come back to that later. Do not list just the due date without making them a specific one, or without talking about your accomplishment or achievement. When you're writing a resume, also you have to use active verbs like completed, reached this goal, or made, supervised team, things like that. And you have to make sure you are using phrases, not sentences. That's why you shouldn't put a period at the end of those statements, because they're not sentences, but they are phrases. And also avoid using I, me, mine, or things like that, because it make your resume, they make your resume longer. Remember, we have to fit our resume in on one page or 2 pages at most. We have different types of resume. You have the chronological resume, which is the common one, and then we have the functional resume. And then the chronological resume is what talk about your work history in order of dates, starting with the most recent job to the oldest one. And most employer preferred that kind of resume. The functional resume focuses more on your skills and experience rather than the date or the chronological work history. For the functional resume, it's more recommended for job seekers who have gaps in their employment history, or people who are changing careers, or individuals who have very limited work experience. When we are writing our resume, we also have to think about our reference page. The reference page will be separate from the resume in a separate sheet, but what we're looking for is professional references. You need the name of your reference, if you know the company the person is working in, the location, the reference person's phone number and email address are very important, because if your employers would like to call those references, they need their phone number and email address. The other thing I'm going to say, you always have to make sure you inform people that you are choosing for references in advance, so that when employers call them, they don't act surprised. Who is that? I can't remember, or things like that. Those are not good things for you. So make sure you always inform your references and get the approvals before you use them. In conclusion, I would say that the resume is the resume is the summary of your work history and qualification. It has to include your employment history, on your skills, your education, and other relevant information. It's designed to give an employer a good impression of you, and the main goal of the resume is to get you an interview. A resume has to be tailored according to your job description, and one sample cannot fit all. A resume should be ideally 1 page or 2 pages at most. We have here some one resources is a video that you can watch at your free time. It's about how the best hire might not be the perfect, might not have the perfect resume, by Regina Hartley. And I think that's a good resource for anybody. And thank you for listening. Bye.